Hey, so this is my vlog, I guess. I don't know, I've never done anything like this before, so set your expectations low, and this should be pretty good. The only people that wound up asking any questions were my mom, my dad, and my mentor, so that's sweet. I don't blame you guys, I did post those things at like 4 in the morning, so anyways, let's hop to it. So my first question was from Wayne Severud, my mentor, a wonderful, beautiful, lovely man. And he asked, would you recommend the world race to anyone currently in high school? Why or why not? And what is South Africa really like? So yeah, I would definitely recommend the world race to anyone in high school. It is a very worthy investment. I mean, you get to further your faith, you get to outreach to people, you get to serve people and minister to people. And it's living not for yourself, and it's learning to live for other people, serving other people, and you constantly have a mission mindset of how can I relate to these people more? How can I share them the gospel better? How can I introduce them to Jesus to help them on their path towards a relationship with Jesus? It's also just really good world experience. I mean, getting to see the rest of the world outside of the suburbs. For me, that was, I mean, I'd been on mission trips before, but, I'd never really, been in other communities for a long period of time outside of Golden Valley, Minnesota. So it was a little bit of a culture shock, but it was amazing. Just an incredible experience, and I've learned so much even, just 4 months into this thing. Why would I recommend it? Well, I guess I just covered that question. Yeah, I guess that's all I have for that one. What is South Africa really like? Coming to South Africa, I kind of had this picture of it being, like the nicest part of Africa, and believe me, it is. There are a lot of nice parts, but contrasted with the nice parts are a lot of really rough parts of South Africa. Johannesburg, where we're located, has one of the highest crime rates of any city in the world. Like people getting robbed and shot pretty regularly, like even in the neighborhood we're staying in. And there's lots of these places called shanty towns. Is that what they're called, Nathan? Mm-hmm. Yeah, squatter camps. And so Johannesburg is kind of the economic hub of all of Africa. And so people from all over Africa come to Johannesburg looking for work, looking for a way to make money. It's just kind of like, it's a little bit of the golden city. And so people from all over Africa move here, not really having a solid plan in place. And when they don't find work or don't find a job, they wind up in these squatter camps where it's incredibly high population density. I mean, I think in one of the squatter camps we do ministry in, Deep Sloot, there's roughly 1 million people in this one community, and the community is only, I mean, it's probably the size of like Golden Valley, where I'm from, just a suburb of Minneapolis, and it's like tin shacks, just made out of random materials, and there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of sickness, there's a lot of just lack of hope there, and so going into these places, it's at first it was pretty tough. I mean, seeing a lot of the hopelessness and kind of thinking like, what impact are we truly making here? But then I had this realization via some other people, some wonderful people on my squad, that like we are the hope. We are bringing the light and the hope of Jesus to these people. That there is a life after here, and that a life with Jesus is so much better and so much worth living than any other life you could possibly have. So South Africa, the people here, the people are so wonderful. They're all so friendly and so willing to hear what we have to say. They just want to talk to us. You can walk right up into someone's home and say, hey, do you want to chat for a bit? And then you might wind up sitting down with that person for 3 hours and talking about anything from their salvation to the dollar to rand ratio currently. It's pretty great. And you wind up making a lot of friends, which is cool. Next question, I guess it's a statement from my dad. Tell us about Impact Africa and how they are using the racers, that's us, to advance their mission. So for those of you that don't know, probably most of you, so me and my team, Relentless, that's the guys on our squad, and another team, Salt and Light, one of the girls' teams, are here in Johannesburg. So it's just us two. And we are stationed at another ministry's location. It's called Impact Africa. And so Impact Africa is a pretty well-known organization here in South Africa. And their whole mission, well, they've got a couple different parts to their mission. You can look them up, see their website, see all their information. They're wonderful, wonderful organization. But a lot of what they do is just evangelizing to these communities, going out and preaching the gospel, sharing the good news, telling people how wonderful life is when you live it with Jesus. And yeah, that's a lot of it. Another big thing that they do, something amazing in my opinion, is they have a lot of schools. So they've got they've got like little kids schools, and they've got like elementary schools, and I think they even have some high school ministry. And they're completely self-sufficient. So like no Americans have to be involved. They've completely funded it with local funding, and they have local people working there, and they're totally self-sufficient, which is amazing. And so lots of kids here are getting good educations, good high-quality educations, and they're most importantly they're learning about Jesus. They're getting an education in the Bible, and it's giving them hope, and it's giving them a future. It's giving them a life. And another part of their ministry is I think they have different names for everything, like Impact Kids, Impact Youth, Impact Babies, and Impact Babies is really cool. It's this ministry for women here, but also for babies. The abortion rate here in South Africa is astronomical because there's lots of rapes, there's lots of unwanted pregnancies, and it's something really sad that I've had to come to the realization with, is that like on stop signs and on just random signs all over the place as we're driving around, like you see these plastered on advertisements for abortion clinics, like botched abortion clinics, and it's like, get your abortion now, call 1-800, and it's, I don't know, that's one of the things that really hits me the hardest, is like it's such a common thing here, these botched abortions. What Impact Africa does is they provide this building, and what mothers can do is, instead of aborting their baby, they can bring their baby to this thing called the baby safe, and it's this hole in the wall, and they put the baby in this baby safe, and then they close it, and then it locks. So there's people inside 24/7, there's staff, and they take the baby and they give it care, and they find a foster home for the baby to grow up in and to live in, and hopefully a permanent home for this baby, which is so cool. I love the idea of a baby safe. Like, that's so funny. We got to see it, and I almost wanted to just crawl in there myself and see what happened. I didn't do that, but it would have been funny. Anyways, so that's pretty freaking awesome. And then another part of their ministry is during the summer months, which is, I think, basically just December. They go out into the communities, the squatter camps, and they just do kids ministry. So we sing and dance with the kids a lot. We got to teach them about stories about Jesus and the gospel, and we got to play some games and hand out candy, which they just loved, and that was really fun. I think a lot of that is just like getting them familiar with Impact Africa and getting them familiar with the idea that there are these schools out there where they can get a good education, and where they can find a place to go and a place of hope outside of what they live in every day. That was a long answer to that question. My mom asked, what has been world-changing for you so far? World-changing for me. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I'll turn that into what has been impactful for me so far. There's a lot. But the thing I guess most recently for me that's been impactful is realizing that, like, it is not our responsibility to bring these people to salvation. I mean, it is our responsibility. This is macho. It is our responsibility to go out and to preach the gospel and to share Jesus with people and to plant seeds in their lives, to bring them into relationship with Jesus. But God is He's the water, He's the sun, He is the fertilizer that grows the plant. And all we're doing is introducing a seed and building relationships and talking with people. And just coming to the realization that as long as we are pursuing God's righteousness and pursuing furthering His kingdom, we are accomplishing the mission that He told us to do in His life here on earth, and the mission that the 12 disciples lived out in the rest of the New Testament. So that's something that's been really impactful for me, and that I'm definitely going to take home, because I think a lot of the times it's really intimidating to think about evangelizing or going up to people's doors, and there's kind of that stigma of the classic, would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, like that. But really all it is, it's just living life and having conversations with people, and testimonies. Testimonies is a huge part of it. I've gotten to share my testimony, and that's been huge. People can relate to that so easily. Even people 9,000 miles away from where I live, they can relate to my testimony, and they can see how God has moved in my life, and they can see that God can move just as amazingly in their lives. So yeah, that's probably the biggest impact. Another question from my mom. Do you miss your mother dearest? The answer to that is absolutely not. No, I don't miss you at all, Mom. No, of course I do. I miss you a lot, Mom. But honestly, I miss everybody back home a lot less than I thought I would, as horrible as that sounds. I've been enjoying this new family I have on the World Race so much. I mean, of course I think about my family back home, but I know that they're doing fine, and I know I'm doing great here. So it makes makes it a lot less hard. I mean, there are some days, where I really miss my dog, I miss my dad, I miss my mom, I miss home, and all my friends. But all in all, God has really blessed me with just being really happy with where I'm at and very at peace about it. The rest of these are questions that I came up for myself. The first one. What did I have for lunch yesterday? I know that was one I posted on the Facebook post. Most days here in South Africa, since we are in charge of our own lunches, we have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which I am not complaining about whatsoever. I love PB&J. It's super nutritious, and yeah. I think the majority of days we have PB&J unless we go out for lunch for something. So it's a safe bet that yesterday I had PB&J, if I remembered what I had for lunch yesterday. Another question that I'm asking myself, how has it been living with a bunch of people, like between 50 and 18 people for the last 4 months? What are the pros and cons? What have I learned, benefited from? What have I been challenged by? Geez, I write really complex questions for myself. What does that say about me? Anyways, there's definitely been ups and downs to it. I mean, I really enjoyed getting to know so many amazing, wonderful people. Every single person on this squad and all the leadership are just incredible, unique people with unique stories, and that I just get to love on and to get loved on by, which is amazing. And seeing people step up into their faiths and into ministry and into serving other people, and just watching people grow and living life with them. It's been really incredible, and something I haven't really experienced on this scale before. It's like youth group kinda, except 24/7 and a little more intense, and you get to see the the tired, exhausted, pissed off sides of people a lot more often. The downsides of it sometimes, I'd say I'm more of an extrovert, but on the race, I've really discovered more of my introvert side. There are definitely some times where I need to be myself. I need to be alone in the Word, or journaling, or watching Vikings on Netflix or something, and just be away from people. Because people can be annoying sometimes, and I can be annoying to other people sometimes. I know that for a fact. But you get over it. You get used to it. It's fine. What have I learned? I have learned definitely how to love people better. Each and every person here has different love languages, different ways that they feel appreciated, and different ways that they get pissed off or irritated. So I've had to learn to love them in those ways, and then to avoid getting irritating them in those ways, which has been really cool. And something my dad has always told me is something very valuable you can learn from a young age is how to work with difficult people. And I'm not saying that there are any difficult people on the squad. I'm just saying that everybody can be difficult at times. I'm learning to work with people through that. is always a very positive thing. Oh, no problem, Alicia. I'd be honored to have you featured in the video. Let's see. What have I benefited from? I guess I just covered that. What have I been challenged by? I covered all that. Let's move on. We're getting up to 15 minutes here. This is getting long. What have I learned about serving, evangelizing, and furthering God's kingdom through ministry? How does that translate into everyday life back home? Jeez, I need to ask myself easier questions. This is, gosh. Anyways, what have I learned? I guess I covered about evangelizing earlier. Like, it doesn't have to be this awkward thing where you walk up to people and you right off the bat say, "Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?" I mean, it can be that. I mean, that's super effective, especially here in Africa where people are just hungry for the gospel and hungry for Jesus. But it can be as simple as just saying, "Hey, how's it going?" Or introducing yourself, or starting a conversation, building a relationship, building friendships, and then that leads into sharing the gospel. That leads into showing people what it's like to live a life with God in and among you, and working through you. And testimonies are huge in that. And yeah, I've grown in confidence and boldness in that, which is really cool. When I take that home, I say this now, I'll have to hold myself accountable to this when I'm back home or wherever I am when I get back from South Africa or from the World Race. But yeah, just making it part of my everyday life to build relationships with more people that I'm unfamiliar with, and to bring them the gospel through example of my life and through just telling them my testimony and about, just the gospel straight up. Serving. So when we were in Costa Rica, I'd say 70% of our ministry was scrubbing rocks. Like, we worked with this guy named Luis at our ministry, Project Abraham, which is this church in Costa Rica. And Luis was this wonderful, amazing guy. He has an amazing testimony. I can share that maybe in a later vlog if I do more of these. But he just come up to us, didn't speak much English, and he would pick up a rock, and he would go, how do you say rock? I can't remember. He'd point at it, and then he'd grab a brush, and he'd just scrub it, and then he'd dump a bunch of rocks in the fountain, and we'd scrub rocks for like 6 hours a day, and it was a blast. So, I mean, when you're doing stuff like that, you kind of question, like, how am I making a difference here? Like, what truly am I doing to further God's kingdom in this? But what Luis shared with us as we furthered our relationship with him was, like, it's not so much that act, but it is, like, Luis would be doing that if we weren't doing that. And so that allows him to go and do other things on the property, and that allows him to have more time with his family, more time to serve the kids at the church during daycare and whatnot. And so even though it might not seem like what you're doing, if you are serving in some way, like, is making a difference, it usually is. I'd bargain to say that it always makes a difference when you're serving someone. Yeah, and then another thing we did was, like, we were working on, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Project Abraham quickly. Project Abraham is this really cool church in Costa Rica, and they do a lot of stuff. I mean, they send missionaries out themselves to countries all over the world, and it all started with like 5 women and $20, but again, that's another story. And they do daycare, and they do schooling sometimes, and they do orphans. They take care of orphans. They take orphans in and find families for them. But a ministry they're stepping into right now is women's ministry, so battered women's ministry. And what they are doing right now is building homes for battered women to live in that are safe and protected. And they can give their kids to Project Abraham to take care of them during the day, and these women can be helped to find jobs or to learn different important skills from Project Abraham. And so what we did was we were helping to build the homes for these women. And it was in the early stages of construction, so they had just put in the cinder block walls up, and they were putting the foundation down. So we carried a lot of cinder blocks. We shoveled a lot of dirt. Kind of worked out a lot in Costa Rica. Got a good workout in. And that was a lot of it. And as we're shoveling dirt, like, we just had to remember that as we're shoveling dirt, it's not so much the shoveling dirt, but it is freeing up, like someone would have to be doing that, and we're not being paid by Project Abraham by any means. So some paid employee would have to be doing that. So we're saving Project Abraham money, which can go towards other ministries, and we're also making the project go faster by doing this, kind of grunt work for them, so that they can focus on other things and move the project along even faster. But honestly, I'd say the most crucial part about doing ministry and serving people is relationships. It's building the relationships with these people. Luis, the gardener, and all the construction guys we worked with, and all the staff there, and all the kids at Project Abraham, and all the people that we're meeting here in South Africa, and the staff here at Impact Africa, like, those relationships will last a lifetime. I mean, we still talk to Luis, we still talk to some of the people back in Costa Rica, and they made a difference in our lives, and I hope we made as much of a difference in their lives, because, like, when Christians get together and we encourage each other as iron sharpening iron, and it's a good thing. God commands us to do it. Boy, I'm out of questions, and I don't really have anything else to say, except that God is good. He is moving in amazing ways through the world race, through all of us. He has grown me in my faith so much. I got baptized the day after Christmas. I felt like my faith was at a place where it wasn't moving closer to God, and it wasn't moving further away from God, and the Lord tells us about being lukewarm, and that's a big no-no. So I felt like I wanted to start moving closer to Jesus, and I wanted to declare that, and so I got baptized, which was pretty great. It was spur of the moment. I went up to my squad leader, Kevin, and I was like, Kevin, I think the Lord is telling me to get baptized. And he ripped off his shirt, and he was like, let's go do this thing. And we did. Maybe I'll post the video at some point. I don't know. I'm really bad with the social media thing. Sorry about that if you wanted to hear more about the world race or whatever. But in summary, maybe this vlog thing will become a regular thing. Tell me what you thought of it, if it was good, if it was hot garbage. I'm recording this in the kitchen of Impact Africa right now. So not a glorious sound studio by any means. I'm using this paper towel roll to hold the phone up. So not very high production quality, but I don't know. I thought it was cool. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. See you soon.